Special thank you to Seed and Stone Cidery and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show today. They help to make this show possible and supply us with the occasional beverage when we're out there. They've got 10 taps full of meads and ciders made right there in-house. They've also got all sorts of awesome events going on, including an open mic almost every single Thursday where you can come out and show your musical talent. So all you songwriters out there, stop out and grab a cider or a mead and tell them that the Songwriters Couch and the Patrick Joanne Band sent you. Again, Seed and Stone Cidery right here in Rochester, New York. Go out and visit them and let them know we sent you. Thanks, guys.
All right, welcome to the Songwriters Couch, episode number 12. And on the show today, we've got the amazing Matt Plessinger.
Oh, thank you.
Did I screw it up already?
You said I'm amazing. That's so uncomfortable for me.
But thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been talking about kind of getting together and doing something, something like this together. And then we've got actually now a songwriter showcase thing that's coming up too in the next few weeks. I don't know if this will actually come out before that, but if not, we had a great show.
Yes.
If this has already come out. If not, we're so excited to see you guys.
You got to be there.
At the show. You got to be there. Or thank you for coming. One or the other, right? But thanks for coming out. And I think part of the reason that I've kind of always admired your playing is because you do a lot of kind of finger picking and a lot of the what would you call that style of guitar playing? Because there's a few guitarists out there that do kind of similar, lots of like. Why don't you explain what it is that I guess
there's a lot of different names for it. There's modern percussive acoustic guitar, but I think the general blanket term's fingerstyle guitar. So it involves a few different techniques that are taken from classical guitar, but also Spanish flamenco and even rock elements with like finger tapping and stuff.
Yeah, like Van Halen.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like a combination of all those techniques to be able to simulate like a full band feel where you have like your bass line, you have like a rhythm section for guitar, you have a melody, and kind of combining everything so that each finger and each
it's
part.
almost like its own instrument. Like you're a full band almost with the guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I dig it. I've never fully gotten into the all the percussive stuff that that you're doing. The finger tap a little bit because I grew up in the 80s, so I watched Eddie Van Halen, and my older brother is.
You're like, I want to do that.
Yeah, I used to do that stuff, but I never quite got good in it. So I always took myself as like, all right, I'm a rhythm player. I can write songs, so I'm kind of got to stick in my lane just a little bit. Yeah. But before we go any further, I do need to do a shameless shameless plug, and then I'll let you do a shameless plug too before the episode starts. This way, if anyone's watching now, go and download and like and do all that kind of stuff there. And as well, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But thank you to our sponsor, Seed & Stone Cider. We're drinking some stuff over here somewhere, and Lucky Buzz. And they're doing a lot for the music community here, so they're really been partners with us. So we really appreciate it, you guys. And if you're in Rochester, go ahead and go out there and buy a drink. And then where can people kind of find some of your artwork, I guess you can say, or art?
I have a Bandcamp, so if you want to find my old EP from when I was 19, you can listen to that on Bandcamp. It's mattplessinger.bandcamp.com. Or you can find me, I'm a little more active on Instagram these days, so you can find me on Matt Plessinger Solo Guitar on Instagram.
Right on.
You can also find me on Facebook. And
any TikTok? Are you doing TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok yet.
Yeah.
I haven't broken that section of the market.
Yeah, I try and stay away. I think my daughter convinced me to download it. And like, oh, you should do stuff on there. And there's maybe like 5 TikToks that I made total for the band. Yeah. And I haven't touched it since. I feel like there are states that are like banning it. And so, like, I'm like, what? You know, there must be something that, like, there can't be just nothing behind them banning an entire app like that in the United States. But who knows? I feel like maybe they're mining information or whatever. So maybe. I've taken it off my phone at this point.
I feel like TikTok's just kind of like unhealthy in general. Like, I feel like there's just days where like I deleted it. But
did you?
I had it for a while and I deleted it
and then Facebook and Instagram copied it. So now you just got a TikTok clone on.
Yeah, it's true. You got like Reels now where you can just like scroll like endlessly. But days would just get completely away from me with TikTok, and I felt like.
What was your favorite stuff to watch? Was it we were talking about this on Sully's episode.
I'd like to say it was like intellectual stuff, like like crazy musicians or like fascinating nature or whatever that stuff that I'm interested in. But no, it was just like memes and like mindless like.
I think that's pretty much. I don't think there is a lot of intellectual content, or maybe there is. Maybe I'm mistaken. Is there? Is there intellectual content on TikTok?
There's gotta be.
I don't have TikTok.
Oh, okay. So we're all too old in the room, I think, to comment on the intellectual content on TikTok. So what got you into, I guess, music in general, and then how did you get into the path of like doing that new style acoustic guitar playing and that sort of thing?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I kind of got into music because of my friends. We went to this thing called Pit Stock when we were kids. So it was like a backyard Woodstock kind of like mimic. And it was literally it was a sponsored event. They had like all kinds of like food, and they had like a little skateboarding company that was sponsored it. But, all these local bands would show up and they'd play in this person's backyard. And we just went because it was free and it sounded fun. So we went to this guy's backyard, and we were 13. We were sitting around the campfire at the end of the night, and there's this guy playing a melodica. And we were like, dude, how do you get girls?
What's a melodica? I don't even know what that is.
A melodica is it's like a piano that has like a tube that you blow into.
I know what you're talking about.
It's literally, it sounds like a harmonica, but you can play the notes like a piano.
Yeah.
So he was playing that, and he was wicked good at it. And
there were just flocks of girls around him as he played this piano.
No, he was just older, and we saw him as somebody who could,
cool,
right? And we were like,
right.
like, give us your knowledge. And he was like, you just have to be good at something. Just be good at anything. And do it well. Like, and I took that to heart. I think we all did.
Don't worry about that. You could just leave that too. That's not gonna harm anything.
But we all got instruments.
So how come you didn't pick up what is it called?
What's that?
What is the instrument called again?
Oh, melodica.
How come you didn't pick up the melodica then and take that on as your instrument?
Just didn't. Well, so me and all of my friends got instruments. So my friend started out getting a bass guitar, and then we started a band, and it was called Amplifried. And it was awesome. And we just we would make 12-minute songs that were mostly nonsense, but there's a lot of good little bits in them. And
did anyone actually know how to play any instruments before, or like what was the?
No, we just started fresh. My buddy Stefan, he started bass guitar for a while, and then he started getting lessons, and then it was kind of like this almost like competitiveness in me that kind of like awoke out of that, because I would see him getting so good, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be that good. And like I would just go in my room and practice for 6 hours, and then we'd come to band practice. We'd show each other what we made and like riff off of it. There's a lot of weed involved, so we'd get high and just like jam for like hours and like drive our parents crazy, I'm sure.
What was any of your family musical too? Did you have like musicians in your family too?
Yeah, a lot of my family actually. My grandma was a piano teacher. My dad...
Did you learn piano when you were...
Never, no. Huh. But I'd started out on trumpet. That was the first instrument I ever played. And I played it long enough to learn taps, and I was like, that's all I need.
That's all like, any musician needs. As long as you can play taps, you're good.
Right.
You're good on that.
Especially with trumpet. It's just like a very characteristic trumpet.
Do you still have a trumpet?
It's buried somewhere in my basement, I think.
You should bring that out to open mic. And just blow people. Yeah, just real. Start playing taps in the middle of the open mic. So with the trumpet, is it... Because I've made an attempt to play a trumpet before, right? And I say made an attempt because I didn't even get as far as taps. But like you're making the majority of the note with your mouth, right? It's not necessarily the keys. There's only 3 keys on there, so... Yeah,
so it's... I don't even really remember it, but you can, like, raise pitch with just your mouth, and then it's kind of like... I'm guessing intervals with the 3 buttons. It's like different intervals, almost like a pedal steel or something. I really honestly don't know.
Yeah, you don't even remember. Was it in school you learned how to play it in school?
Yeah, I learned it in school. It was so long ago now. But
so then, so you're in this band, and you're getting kind of competitive, and you're sitting there, which, by the way, to anyone, any aspiring musicians, that's kind of the typical path that happens. Like you're young, you see maybe some musician out there, whether it be like a professional band or someone that's playing music locally, or your older brother or your cousin, whatever, your uncle, and you're like, oh, I want to do that, and then you pick up an instrument and you're like, oh, I'm terrible at this, right? And then you either do one of 2 things. Either you end up being like, screw that, and maybe you just start singing something, right? Or then there's a number of musicians then that just say, you know what, I need to just keep doing this for hours and hours and hours. And you sit in your room or you sit wherever and you just play constantly, and eventually you get better, and then people start telling you, oh, you're such a good, you're so talented, you've got, you're such a great guitar player, when in actuality it was just
it's practice.
Yeah, it's practice and being completely alone in your room playing with nothing but your guitar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was but then so you went from being in this kind of, I guess, teenager band, right? To then what? Now you're
more of a solo artist.
Did you guys like have any gigs where you went out and played, or was it like
we did have a few gigs? They were pretty funny though. I mean, we were like 15, 16, and it was mostly me and Stefan that had the gigs. And I remember there's one gig we played out in this middle of nowhere like campsite, and we played poolside for like 3 people, and we just like jammed out for like 40 minutes, and the woman that hired us to do it didn't even come outside to listen to us. She just opened her window from like, there's like a building next to the pool, and she just opened the window in her office and listened to us. And she's
as long as halfway through a song, though, that she didn't close the window, then you know it's all right, Oh, that's crazy. So by a pool at a campsite.
Yeah. Man. I think it was called Skyline Resort, if I remember right.
That's odd. Those are the
out
most
by like Darien Lake.
Like when you're doing those kind of gigs, they're you kind of think like, oh, it's not, this is not the stadium that I was hoping to be playing in front of hundreds of thousands of adoring fans. But looking back on those gigs is always like, I always like the story of them. Like I have fond memories of like terrible gigs in the middle of nowhere. I played in Niagara Falls once, me and my old drummer, and it was on the American side of Niagara Falls, which if anyone knows Niagara Falls, the American side for some reason is not anywhere close to the Canadian side in terms of like how cool it is. Like it's just run down and like everything's closed. So we had a gig at this bar, right next to the bar was a police station, but the police station was all boarded up. So there was no police in there at all, and it was all boarded up. And then the bar was like the only thing for like miles in either direction on this street. And we get in there, there's nobody in there. We had traveled, an hour and a half, whatever it takes to get up there from here. Was it 2 hours, something like that? And we literally played to the bartender. But the bartender and the waitress were dancing and like getting to screaming. Like it was one of the most fun gigs. They paid us, gave us food, that kind of thing.
So cool.
But looking back, it's
kind of sad. It's like I feel bad for these people. They hired me to do this thing. Nobody's here.
Yeah. Well, I think what they were hoping was that we would somehow magically bring a bunch of people to their random bar in the middle of nowhere, Niagara Falls. But anyway, so you kind of did a few gigs with them. Did you immediately then start writing stuff on your own, or was it like during that time you were?
I think there was like a shift for me where like I was playing electric guitar in that band, and I think at one point I got an acoustic guitar as a gift. I like really wanted one because it's like a good practice tool if you're an electric guitarist. You can really like strengthen your hands by just playing acoustic guitar. If you play electric guitar a lot, you get like kind of soft fingers. So I was building up tensile strength with just playing acoustic a lot. And the more I started playing acoustic, the more I was like, I just like playing acoustic better. Like I just like it. It feels better, and it feels more me. And like eventually, like the stuff we were kind of doing individually was not coming together as well. Like Stefan was kind of playing like solo bass, like finger tap heavy kind of stuff, and that was the stuff he really liked to play. And like I was kind of writing more like Travis picking style, like finger plucking stuff, and there wasn't a lot of like stuff that meshed well that we were creating. So it kind of forced us to kind of write our own songs. And I think out of that, like I became more comfortable as a musician in the stuff I was making, and I was more confident in it.
Did you start when you started writing songs? Was it something where you were imitating almost like your inspirations, and then eventually you get into your own thing? But
like in a way, like a lot of the different like percussive techniques was stuff like I watched a guy do, like Daniel Champagne or like Alan Gogol, Andy McKee, like John Gum. Those are all guys that like. When I was 18, 19 years old, I was listening to them, and I was seeing what they were doing. I was like, that's crazy. And like I started by just like, and like
right.
That evolved into like a more cohesive thing. And there's like some songs that kind of got scrapped on the way that I made that just weren't up to par or up to snuff with what I like.
Do you feel so you made me think about something. So when I was probably 17, 18. I still have eclectic musical taste, and I'll still find new musicians and new music that I like. But I feel like everything, at least when you're first starting out becoming a musician or first start really getting into music, you tend to like go to the outskirts of like the genre you're into and listen to all this like crazy stuff. And I feel like and you can see this with like older musicians when you go places, they kind of stop at some point like finding new inspiration.
Absolutely.
And I feel like sometimes that can be at the detriment of their their music too, because you're not getting inspiration from this new stuff that's coming out.
Absolutely.
Are you still finding like new music now?
I would say like not super in the fingerstyle world anymore. I would say that's kind of like more of a comfort space now. Like when I listen to fingerstyle music, it's like I already know like the guys I love very much, and when they release new stuff, I'm all about it. But I have discovered some guitarists in like the last year that have really blown me away. But I think like seeing people in Rochester, even like I've been going to open mics now consistently for like 2-ish years, and just seeing people that just do incredible things in person, like every single week, has been very inspiring.
Well,
to me.
it's super, like, especially here in Rochester, and there's music towns. So, like, you go to Nashville, or you go to New York City, or even LA. Sort of, you sort of see new stuff coming out, but it's a little more like people are very much about the image a little bit more in LA. It tends to be, so they don't want to get up and look stupid. Sometimes is what I feel a little bit. Even though the comedy scene out there is great, which is such a weird dynamic. Like, the comedy scene's great, but like I see, like, musically, people are very concerned about how they look as a musician, which is very LA, very like California. But I feel like you get exposed at an open mic to individuals that are just starting on their finding their voice or finding their style. And so it tends to be really fresh, and they may be thinking about all these inspirations and all the stuff they wrote while they're in their their bedrooms figuring stuff out, and then they go out and they play it. But I watch sometimes, like, that's like you said, just amazing musicians or amazing artists. Even maybe they might not even be great technically, but like what they're doing is so fresh and so new, and they may not even realize it. They go out there and they feel like they're not doing well because they're not technically doing stuff well or precise. But that kind of thing inspires me, and a lot of times I'll go up to them and I'll start talking to them, because they'll introduce me, or they'll say, like, oh yeah, I've really been listening to such and such lately, and I've had no idea what they're, who this person is or who the musician is, and I'll get exposed to all this new music that then helps me kind of evolve myself too,
Absolutely.
So if tapping and all that kind of stuff, right, was kind of added to an acoustic guitar, I look back at Eddie Van Halen, right? And he kind of made all that stuff, I guess, brought it to the forefront. Like, it was happening before him, but he really brought it out there. I'm wondering, like, from an acoustic guitar standpoint, like, how did that transition happen? And I think I have an idea.
Just in music in
so
general?
Like, it went from being a very electric guitar kind of thing, shredding on a guitar in the 80s, like those, hair metal bands and that sort of thing, to then being a really, like, acoustic, adding in the percussion, adding in all this. What's the guy's name you said, Pat? Is it McGee? What's his name?
Andy McKee.
Andy McKee. Completely messed up his name. But like, so I've heard his name a bunch of times, and you could tell I don't know his name. So I don't listen to a lot of his stuff, but I will definitely. But like, do you believe he was inspired by, like, Eddie Van Halen, or do you think it was something that was
Andy, for sure? I'm sure he kind of had like a similar start to me, where I think he started on electric guitar, and he kind of like was playing more like shred stuff at first and stuff like that, but he got really inspired by somebody named Michael Hedges. Michael Hedges is the guy who's kind of like known as like the guy who like made fingerstyle explode and made it what it is. He's like the guy who took all the pieces and put them together and did something that like nobody else was doing. So he was playing.
I've definitely heard of Michael Hedges before.
He's incredible. He unfortunately passed away, I think, in the 90s.
Speaking of the 90s, though, that's kind of what I was getting to. So in the 90s, you had Nirvana and you had Pearl Jam. You had all those alternative bands that were kind of coming out that were like the antithesis of the 80s hair metal, shredding, that sort of thing, right? So it was this weird combination of, like, they grew up on that music, or were inspired by that music, but then tried to make it more raw. And then MTV came out with their Unplugged series, right? And you're probably too young to actually have. I had
a DVD actually of Nirvana Unplugged.
There you go. So those Unplugged series is when the changeover, I feel like, moved heavily to like acoustic guitar, right? So a lot of people that were in bands and stuff were very like, heavy distorted, lots of effects, all that sort of stuff, mostly electric. And then as soon as that Unplugged series came out, everyone had acoustic guitars, and we're like, okay, let's just go completely clean. Let's do that. I mean, you had Dave Matthews, which was, from a guitar player standpoint, is a phenomenal guitar player, especially that he can play some of the stuff he plays and sing it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like very difficult, and I see that with you too, because you're doing some technical stuff. And I feel that takes a lot of practice. But I think like somewhere in the 90s there, it went from like, okay, a lot of electric stuff to all of a sudden being this acoustic thing. And then you have like Backstreet Boys and all that stuff that came immediately after that as like the answer to it. So where do you see kind of your music going from here? I mean, do you have...
I mean... I'd love to get some of my music out there. I think like the whole studio process and like the money investment is like daunting.
Yeah,
it's definitely like a huge commitment. But
I think
I have the material.
Yeah, I think that at this point though, you could probably find someone. I mean, I could record you here, and then it's just a matter of mixing and mastering. That I'm not at all good at. But there's so here's a tip for everyone out there. So there's a app called Fiverr. Fiverr. Maybe if they want to sponsor us, but it's a big app. But they what it is, it's kind of like an app that you can hire people to do things, and it's usually relatively inexpensive compared to like if you were to just go to like a major studio, for instance, right, and get your stuff mixed and mastered. There's people on there that are just coming out of school or whatever, and they'll do a mix and a master for like $50 on a song, or they'll do animated videos, or they'll do paintings, or there's all sorts of like just artists and freelance musicians and stuff. Like you can get backup singers or a violin player to play on something, things like that. But cool. Yeah, I mean, if you want to record something, we can do something here, Matt. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I think like I'd love to get some of my material out there and more accessible, because I think that's like a common question. Is like people see me play live and they're like, "Where's your stuff? Where can I listen to you?" And I'm like, I wish I could tell you.
Well, that's a good point too. Is we talked on the last episode with Chris about where opportunity meets preparedness, I guess, right? Preparedness. Is that a word? Preparedness.
Yeah, that's a word.
Where, like where you're prepared and then the opportunity finds itself. And when you play, I see people look like, oh, he's really good. And so having something like that there, I think is where, where success meets, where you have that stuff. But
for sure,
when you're writing songs, right? Because I kind of want to get to the crux of like why you write music, right? Like where does obviously when you first started, you were like, that guy's cool. I bet he gets girls. So I'm gonna learn how to play guitar, right? But now it's probably become a part of your life in a way that you didn't probably think it was going to be back then. So when you write songs, is it generally something where you're writing, you're like, you want to write a piece of music? Or is it something where you're writing a song about something that's happened in your life? Or, like where does your inspiration tend to come from mostly?
Mostly it's like a cathartic thing. Mostly it's just like I either have an idea for a song, or like I'm screwing around with my guitar and I find like a nice tuning or something, and I find like a little riff I like, and I go like, oh, I gotta make this like a thing. It has to exist now. Yeah. And like whatever I'm struggling with, whether it be like something emotional, something like external, like the world, or like what's going on in the world, like something that's bothering me that I just need to get out. Usually that's how I like write a song. So I have a lot of breakup songs.
And so when you're writing, do you... And I ask this of every songwriter pretty much because I feel like it's people have this thought that songwriters sit down and they figure out, okay, this is like Mozart, his eyes are closed and he's deaf, but he's just writing from his, in his mind, this symphony of things. But usually that's not what it is, right?
That's
like you said, you're
like once.
Yeah,
for me.
you're like fooling around on guitar and you're like, oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And why does that sound good? And I've equated it to like a memory of a song or whatever, but where you're coming up with something and then you write it, like, is it generally like in the morning you're fooling around with your guitar, or is it where you have, because you have lyrics to to your songs. I feel like your songwriting is more on the musical
Sure.
side of it, and the lyrics are kind of like a melody that fits over it, more so than it being like lyrically or story driven necessarily.
Typically, yeah. Like, I don't write a lot of ballads.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, like, most of the stuff starts with the guitar. Like, most of it's, like, I'll find, like, a tuning. Like, oh, like, I tune this string down, like, a half step, and suddenly, like, Dadgad is, like, this, like, it's got this, like, seventh in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like, I gotta do something with that. Like, and then I start noodling. I find, like, a couple notes that fit in with, like, some open strings, and suddenly it's... And it's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. I want to do that. I got to make something out of that.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful.
I've written a bunch of songs when I've broken strings and not had money to buy new strings.
Ooh.
And so I'll like lose, like one, and then of course I'll be playing really hard, maybe have a couple extra whiskeys, you know what I mean? Hit it harder, and then I'm missing like 3 of them. I've only got like 4 strings or 3 strings left, if I can count.
It reminds me of my friend Noah. My friend Noah, who is also an amazing guitarist that you need to listen to. His name is Hemlock Sun on the interwebs. He's incredible. He's an incredible Williamson-based musician. But he has like a whole catalog, like basically an album's worth of material that he wrote without, I think it's the 5th string. Huh. He broke this on one of his guitars. He never replaced it. And he just like kept writing songs, and now like he said he's like tried to play those songs over again with like a 6th string, and it just doesn't work. It, like the feel is wrong, or like the extra note just like ruins it. So he has like 8-10 songs of just like 5-string guitar.
Yeah.
And now he has like a guitar that's specifically just for those songs. It's
interesting what those, like what was that? Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that what they say? Right, you're awake over there, you know, right? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Say it in like a Morgan Freeman voice.
I don't know if I can imitate Morgan.
Necessity.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. So when you're writing and you're writing lyrics to it, so it's generally do you come up with the guitar part first, and then you get into your lyric stuff. So
sometimes it's like I'll have like a chord progression, and like I'll start writing like a hook or something, and like I'll get the hook part down, and then like I'll find room to do like more advanced guitar stuff. That happens a lot more like seldom than just like I write a whole guitar piece and then I make the lyrics work. That happens a lot more often. But
is it something where you have the lyrics already typically, or are you writing?
No, I usually, like, if I don't have the music, I'm not writing the lyrics. Some people write the lyrics first, and I feel like it's...
I'm going to top you off there, too.
To me, it's like too... It's too, like, you're putting too rigid borders on it. So, like, you feel like you have all these lyrics, you have all these words, and you have to cram them into this thing that you're making in the moment.
I feel the same way. I've actually written, so I've been in the car, and I have some sort of a background... song that's going on to the lyrics, and I write all the lyrics out, and I have the rhymes. So sometimes it's at the gym if I'm like on the treadmill, or I'm on a bike or something. I'll be furiously typing it to whatever's going on in my head, and then I go home and I try and actually write music to it, because it was kind of like a vague idea of what was behind it, and it never ends up coming to fruition no matter what. But then sometimes like months later I can actually fit it into something, which is cool, but very, very few and far between that occurs. So who are your influences? So I know you said
well, I'd say like for me it's very much like I have singer influences and then I have guitarist influences.
Who's your singer influences?
So I'd say like John Mayer. The biggest one is Jeff Buckley, hands down. Jeff Buckley. You do
have that Buckley.
I found Jeff Buckley when I was like going through a breakup. I found his
perfect
album Grace.
Jeff Buckley timing. Yeah.
And like I was just reaching a point where like I could do the things vocally that he was doing. Like I was taking lessons at the time for voice, and I was just starting to get to a point where I could sing like songs like him, and it felt like so freeing. Like I felt like I had this register that a lot of men didn't have, that were singing low and like throaty, and like I wasn't that kind of singer. So like I didn't feel a lot like a lot of guys that were singing. And when I heard Jeff Buckley, I was like, that sounds like me. Like,
Yeah.
it felt so right. So I'd say Jeff Buckley, out of everybody, he's the biggest influence I have vocally. But I'd say, like, if there was a top 3, it'd be like John Mayer, Jeff Buckley, and like Derek Whibley from Sum 41.
Huh. I don't know too many Sum 41. Just shaking her head over there.
That was like my childhood favorite band. Yeah,
it's like almost kind of like an emo. That emo world?
Yeah, like early 2000s pop punk.
All right.
Yeah, pop punk version, more pop punk of Green Day.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's accurate.
What about?
Yeah,
Oh.
Derek Whibley was Avril Lavigne's husband.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh, all
for
right.
years.
All right. And then
Until
guitar.
they
So
weren't.
obviously guitar playing, you went over a few. Did you get inspired by? I mean, because you said you started out on electric. So who were your electric guitar inspirations?
When I was playing electric guitar, I was listening to a lot of Grateful Dead. So I was trying to do a lot of like lead guitar stuff like Jerry Garcia would do. But I was more of a Bobby player.
Yeah.
I was more of like a rhythm guy. I would play like the upstrokes and like mute the downstrokes.
Yeah.
Do like little ska kind of oriented stuff. And I'd say like Grateful Dead, like Real Big Fish. I was doing a lot of like the ska kind of like rhythmic stuff at that time.
When was Panic at the Disco? Was who? That was late 2000, or was that later or early? Was that around the same time? I just started getting into I think I told you this. I just started getting into like emo stuff like recently. Yeah, my Chemical Romance stuff like this year
man.
is when I started.
This year,
Yeah, because I grew up.
you like just discovered the Black Parade
That's right.
20 years later.
Yeah. Well, I do a cover of it sometimes now acoustically.
That's like Don't Stop Believing bar song. It's like the whole bar will erupt in Welcome to the Black Parade
It's
if you
very
start
true.
singing.
It's very true. I write Sins Not Tragedies too. You start doing that in any
Yep.
bar with anyone under 50.
Imagine.
Yeah, everyone's singing it. Oh, we're not going to play that. Yeah, we might get a copyright strike
copyright
because I do
strike.
it that well that they might think that we're actually playing it over the.
Oh, Gerard Way, when did you get here?
That's right. That's right. I got to have the black eye makeup and stuff on though. So do you see yourself now like forming a band, Matt, or do you think you're probably going to stick with the solo thing? And...
Nah, I think I'm more of a solo artist. I think like doing collaborations is really fun for me. I think doing like I'm playing like a song with like a couple people, that feels right. Or it's like a piano player and like a singer or like a horn player or something, that feels like intimate and like right for my style of music. But I think like a full band, maybe if I was just a singer, I think that could be really fun. But as a guitarist, I feel like my time is too shit to be in a band. Like I just can't count time.
Yeah, your timing. I think you're pretty good if you can like sing along with what you're doing. I mean, what? Let me ask you this.
Sure.
What did it take? Because I remember trying to play. What was it? That Dave man. And trying to sing along with it, and it took me so long to be able to actually like do it. Did you play guitar first and then have to learn how to sing along with it, or was it something where you were kind of like learning both and like both of them kind of followed each other? You're
I think singing was something like when I first started doing it, I wasn't really trying to do it to be good at it. It was kind of like I would blast Sum 41 songs, I'd blast Blink-182 songs, and I would fucking belt them as loud as I can. And like if I was singing too loud, like I would raise the music up louder, and then I would be singing like at that, like I was just like dancing in my room, like singing to like a fake microphone, and like having people walk in and like being embarrassed. Like that was like a huge part of my singing upbringing. It's just like singing the songs that I loved. And a lot of people do. Almost everybody I know does that in their car. You know?
I've asked people like, joking around, like, do you sing too? Because they you're a musician or whatever. I'm like, yeah, are you a musician too? Do you? And then they always say, I sing like to songs, but that's it. I'm like, so you can sing then?
You
probably.
can sing.
It's like this disbelief that they can do. Like if you're singing in your car, you're probably sort of maybe on in key.
Yeah.
You know, and if you get a little bit of ear training, a little bit of like training, you know, you'd maybe be able to do it.
Right.
You said you took lessons on voice. Did you take any guitar lessons ever?
Not really. I was part of like a summer program at this music school where it was called I'm in the Band, and you basically join a band and you audition, and they like put you together with people they think you're going to play well with, and then you make like 5-6 songs together, and then you perform it.
Oh, that's cool.
And that happened when I was like 18. And after that, like after I did the whole band situation, I was like, my teacher was basically like, you're a better singer than you think you are right now. And like, you just can't control anything. He's like, you're controlling it the wrong fucking way. And like, I'm going to teach you. You just like take lessons with me, and like, I'll teach you.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I did. And like, just learning how to control my voice better and like put pressure in the right places and like support in the right places just changed my ability, changed my range. It changed like how much I can do with my voice. So that was really freeing and invigorating.
I took a singing lesson with it was one of the first singing lessons I've ever taken in my entire life, because I grew up just kind of playing in bands and kind of learning by doing, but I think I was really screwing up my voice by doing that, and I don't think that I gave myself the range that I actually had, because I didn't learn how to actually hit stuff. So I ended up going out to LA, and Sia, the musician Sia.
Oh my God!
So her vocal coach was out there. I don't remember how I found a vocal coach, but the protege of the vocal coach is who I ended up being with, because they were working together.
Wow.
Sia's vocal coach and this guy Dean. Shout out to Dean. I'll have to tag him in the post. But
That's so cool.
I spent 1 hour session then, and I think I did maybe two remote sessions. But that one live session, I learned more about singing in an hour than I had learned like just doing it for years and years and years, and just being able to realize, oh, I can hit some of these higher things. It's just the way that I'm doing it is not correct.
Right.
And I feel like I should probably take guitar lessons now, because I know enough about the basics of it that I feel like maybe I'll be able to pick up technical techniques that I wouldn't have been able to had I been just coming in raw and I just want to play a song.
I think one of the best things my mentor said to me was, he was like, I have not said, and I will never say, you can't make it on your own, but you'll make it a lot faster with me. And he was just saying, like, you know what you're doing, like, what you're doing is good, and, like, that's all nice, but, like, there's stuff you can and will be doing in the future, and I can get you there faster. So, like, I can teach you some techniques. I can teach you a place to start, basically.
Yeah,
Give you, like, an avenue to learn.
Who was, there's some, I think it was, someone was talking about books. Like, yeah, you can get far in life without reading books or whatever, or reading the information that all these other people have left for future generations in books and in audio recordings and all that sort of stuff. But it's like a short code or a cheat code to jump ahead years and years in what you're doing.
Years of wisdom.
Yeah. So, and I've talked about this in the past too. Like, you may have the talent, you may have the natural kind of ear for music and all that sort of thing, but it's like learning a language. And I think if you've gotten some of the techniques, some of the technical knowledge, and you have that natural inclination towards it, it just makes it that much easier to communicate what's in your head and what you're trying to get out into the world by doing that, by kind of taking by getting there a little quicker.
Absolutely. I hate the narrative of like, oh, like learning music theory like made me not creative. It's like, I hate that narrative. It's so stupid. Well, it's like music theory helps you communicate to other musicians.
Here's
like
my problem with it. Not necessarily learning music theory, right? Because if you go out and you seek it on your own, right? If you're like a musician and you suck and you're like, I want to learn music theory so I can become a better version of what I'm already interested in doing. That's great. I love music theory and the schools for that, and there's teachers teaching it. What I find can kind of teach creativity out of some people is the way that I think schools sometimes treat music programs, and they give you, you can only choose like woodwind instruments or whatever, or trumpets or that sort of thing. And then the songs that they play are always these like marching band or the school orchestra songs, and it's boring for kids, I think, sometimes to learn that. And the theory, I almost think, should come later to just banging on an instrument and screaming and making noise. Like, that should come first. You should instill the joy of it and why it's expressive, and then be like, okay, now you want to make something that someone else wants to actually listen to. Right. Now that you have a love for screaming and banging on your instrument and doing all that and making noise, now here's the theory of how you can make it sound good, where someone will actually want to listen to what you're expressing.
Yeah. Even if it's not good, like, if it's truth and it's the way you want to express yourself, I think that's the best way. And like, if you're learning music theory, it's just to help you say your truth better. Yeah. And hone in those feelings.
But that's where I think some people get, though, like the theory like teaches the creativity out of them. It's because sometimes in school, like, the people aren't interested in music to begin with.
I gave up
and
on
they
trumpet.
They feel like you're
and
a musician.
And then I picked up a guitar and I was like, this is my shit. I
watched it happen with my son. As a matter of fact, he got into drums and he was playing drums for a while and he was really into it, really into the music thing. And as soon as he started playing music in high school, that's when he was like and I think it was because it just became like homework, it became like another thing that's just, I got to do this again, like, and practice. Whereas like for you and I feel like we're very similar. Most musicians, I loved it so much that I was willing to go sit in my room alone for hours and hours and just play until my fingers were like,
like fried. Yeah, absolutely. Those are like the most like memorable nights of practice, or just like when your hands just hurt at the end of the night. You like lay down and your like hands like shaking from like doing bar chords for that long.
You feel like you have arthritis and you're only 13 years old.
Yeah, you like look down at your hand. It's just naturally. This is just my natural state.
It's like a claw.
Camera's on. Yeah, it's just this is just. I'm not flexing my hand at all. It's just like that.
So let's do this. We're coming up a little bit on it. All right. Got a few. So let's talk about what you're going to play, because you had a song prepared here. What is this song about, if you wouldn't mind telling?
It's about my partner Rin.
Oh, Rin,
I love so much.
Who did not come out today.
They're not here today. They're having fun with their friend Bridget.
All right, but we miss you, Rin, and hopefully Rin will be able to see this when we post it. But so this is about Rin.
Yeah, this is a song about Rin. It's I love this song because it's like it's the one of the only love songs I actually like. Like I've written a lot of love songs over like the 10, 12 years or whatever I've been writing music, and I've hated almost all of them, if not all of them, up until this one. I liked all the breakup songs. But.
Yeah. That's interesting too, because we've talked about that too. Like, I almost feel like love songs without the yang to their yin, so without like the dark side of love in them, they almost like they're toxically sweet, right? Like if it's too much, like I'm so in love. If it doesn't have like
it's like
I love you, but I hate you. There's even a song, right? I love you, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you.
But we like Rins. We hope that you have no more breakup songs.
That's right. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, this one has that melancholy vibe to it. The song is called Never, and it's kind of just about how, like, of all the love I've experienced, I've never experienced like what I feel like love is supposed to be until I met Ren. So it's kind of like never experienced this, never experienced that until you.
That's pretty amazing.
So, yeah.
All right. So before we switch over to you playing the song for us, I'm going to do another shameless go down and subscribe. Like, comment. The comments really help with the algorithms. The YouTubes like to make you pay for stuff. Same thing with Facebook. If you're not getting engagement on them, and they're like, give me some money, and then we'll help people actually see it. Right. But we do have the merch coming out. I've made it, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get the link up shortly. Maybe on this video will be the first time you'll be able to purchase some Songwriters Couch merch. And Matt, what do you want to plug here too? Why don't we give your Instagram and what have you?
So my Instagram is Matt Plessinger Solo Guitar. That's the platform I'm most active on right now. I have a show on December 15th at Seed and Stone. It's the Songwriters Showcase.
Yeah.
And then I have a show December 30th at Love and Cup with my good friend Denali Reese.
Oh, awesome.
Or Cerisco. She got married. Cerisco.
Right. Oh, I do have it updated on my board there.
Yes.
Yeah, because Denali will be on the show too.
She got married, sorry. It's Mrs. Cerisco now.
That's right.
We have a show on December 30th, day before New Year's Eve at Love and Cup. Be there, be square. It's going to be great.
All right. And what's the name of the song one more time?
The song's called Never.
Never. So let's hear it.
Anytime I'm gone, it's like I was never there before. Never understood why it takes so long. How Paul McCartney wrote all those corny songs. Or that I gave it away too soon, till I found you. Till I found you. I never claimed, never secured, always the illness over the cure. No, I don't get it, why you looked so guilty the time I caught you staring at me. Oh, wow, 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 I never knew my love had been misused, or that I gave it away too soon, till I found you. Till I found you. I said love too soon, till I found you.
Matt Plessinger, everybody. think a single tear is falling down my eye as we speak. It's a beautiful song, man.
Oh, thank you,
Holy
man.
mackerel. Well, I want to say, Matt, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to get you an album out, I think. We're going to have to figure that out somehow or another, right? Yeah, we need to get them recorded and get you out there. And for everyone that's watched and listened today, and for everyone that has been watching and listening, I want to thank you because you're the most important part of the podcast. So we really appreciate it. And I love bringing you guys new musicians for you guys to check out and new music. And we got some exciting guests coming up into the new year. This is the pre-Thanksgiving episode, but it'll be released afterwards. So hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. I'm trying to think in the past now.
Hope you gorged.
But yeah. Hope you guys are now dieting after the amount of food you ate, and you're eating healthy and prepping all your meals for Christmas and your holidays. And again, thank you all for watching and listening. Matt, love you, man.
Love you too, brother. Thanks
We'll
for
see you
having
at the next show or at the show on December 15th,
Yes,
or Singer-Songwriter Showcase. And thank you to is that on the camera? Thank you to Lucky Buzz and Seed and Stone for sponsoring the show. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Later.
Later. I drank all